Have you ever been asked to be someone's godparent? Well, I have, and I find it a complete honor. But as I've matured, I've asked myself, have I done a good job of it? And what does it even entail? I mean, is it just you get to be the person holding the baby at the baptism and you get special name on their birth certificate? It's funny because I have six godchildren, and I recently was asking um, someone that I know, who is your first child's godparents? And they were like, "Ooh, I don't even know. I don't know. It could be so and so." And so I went and I looked it up, and I found out that it was two Protestants, and they had written a Catholic person's name as well, because you can't, as a Catholic, you have to have at least one practicing Catholic on the birth certificate as a godparent, because the role of the godparent is actually important, and we don't even think about it these days. I'm going to go ahead and read to you. The Catechism of the Catholic Church actually says in the Catechism that Catechism 8, Canon 874, right? The godparent's purpose is to help the child attain heaven. Godparents are selected by the parents of a child to be baptized. Pursuant to the law of the church, a godparent must, in pertinent part, be a Catholic who has been confirmed and has already received the most holy sacrament of the Eucharist, and who leads a life of faith in keeping with the function to be taken on. So the function to be taken on, it's like, well, what is the function? Isn't the function done after we walk away from the baptism? Well, for years and centuries, people realized the role of a godparent and how important it was. Actually, many centuries ago, maybe not so many centuries ago, the godparent was actually the person, if we were to die, the godparents of my children would be the one to raise that child. So I think I've got two daughters, and they each have two different sets of godparents. So if we had died, would one kid go with the other and the other go with the other? So no, back then it was usually you will be the godparents to all of my children. And people knew that was a really, really big role. So the role basically is to help the parents get their children to heaven. Your job as a godparent is to help your godchildren to be saints. And I know you don't have daily access to your godchildren. Most of you don't. So what do you do? How do you help them get to heaven? Well, the biggest thing you can do is live a life of piety, live a life of virtue, be the example that when people are watching, they go, that person seems to live a good life, seems to live her faith, and is obedient to the teachings of the church. Because after all, if you're baptizing the child Catholic, and your job is to help them know what the Catholic teachings are. At 60 years old, and I raised my kids in the church, I still think of all the things that I didn't know, so I didn't raise my children knowing, for instance. And it is my job to help her children to know better as well. So for instance, so be holy. Second of all, you live a life of virtue and help that child to live a life of virtue. Again, through your example is the first thing. But what is virtue? Virtue is a decision to do the good and to get rid of evil, to avoid evil and to do the good. So that takes some actual talking, conversation. And I have six grandchildren, three of them are my own grandchildren, or did I say grandchildren? Six godchildren. I have one from each of my siblings and three of my grandchildren. And so I was recently thinking, what do I do? I need to be serious. So I actually called, I had a mass said for each of my godchildren. I sent them a card. One godchild was 17 at the time. One was about 4 at the time. And some were adults in their 30s. And I'm sure they probably like, oh, okay, maybe throw it aside. Especially the ones who are raised by parents who are either atheistic or no longer practicing Catholicism. And I look at that and I thought, ooh, that makes my role even more important. But I bet it planted a seed. You know what? Having a mass said, regardless of how that godchild took it, is less important than the fact that it was done. So when I pray, I always pray for my grandchildren, right? And I pray for my sisters and brothers and their kids. But then on top of that, which, because this is all inclusive, then I say, especially for my godchildren who are among those that I just prayed for. Then I name them each by name, and I specifically put an intention up for this one, of this godchild, that he or she may know this, and this godchild, that he or she may know this. So those are those things. But there are other tools that you can use, because you are culpable. When you do face God, you will have a responsibility. He will ask you what you did for your godchildren. Remember, we are not just doing this. We're not like the pagans. And God bless all of you, right? We are not Protestant, we are Catholic. If you're a Protestant godparent, what are you trying to teach your godchild? Do you see that? So remember, our job is assisting the parents and helping them become saints. We are to teach them virtue. We are to live a life of holiness. So you're basically supposed to check yourself. So here's some of the tools you can do. Remember each of your godchildren's sacramental feast days. So I called the Catholic Church, and which is really cool how the Catholic Church does it. Wherever you are baptized, for the rest of your life, all your sacraments. I'm military. We were baptized in Milwaukee. My kids, my grandchildren, no, my daughters got baptized first in New Hampshire. They made their confirmations in Virginia. And then they got married in Virginia. As they make these sacraments, they are reported back to the original church. It's this beautiful line. So I called the church, and you can call where they got married, and that's going to connect back to the one where they got baptized, so on and so forth. And you can find out the date that your godchild was baptized. Put it on your calendar. Pray for them, especially on that day. Actually, I would suggest you go out, take them out to dinner or to lunch if you can. And if you're far away, if you have the money, send them a little gift, a little rosary or something. I mean, because everybody's not loaded. A book, depending on their age and stage in life. Make that day holy. Remind them, welcome to the family of God on this day. Or 10 years ago today, you made your first communion. You know, here's a gift card for whatever. Here's just, I'm having a mass said for you because of that. So remember their sacramental days, because they will start remembering. They will start seeing what's important. Look at our society. Birthdays are huge. When I was a little girl, you just got a cake. You know, now you have to have these grandiose parties. You have to do these huge things. That all of that is saying focus on the self. Focus on. I'm not bashing birthdays, by the way, but because we make a big deal of birthdays, we see them as a special day. So if we make the big deal of your baptism, your first communion, your confirmation, then the child, your godchild, will, through your intentionality, be made more aware of those too. And there is a likelihood that when things get tough in their life, and they may never talk to you, but maybe when they're an adult and they have faith issues, they may come to you. So another thing you can do is help them cultivate a devotion to their patron saint. What is their patron saint? Are they given a name now that has no patron saint? You know, because we all have names that aren't necessarily, you know, the Aiden and Hayden and I'm trying to think of some other names, you know, Logan's and Grayson, that may not have a patron saint. So did they take on a patron saint's name for the confirmation? I encouraged my grandson to take on Saint Michael because he didn't have a saint's name. But now I'll be able to say, hey, here's a Saint Michael prayer card. Here's a Saint Michael this, or on his anniversaries, make Saint Michael special to him. Find out about their first or their middle name or their baptismal name or their confirmation names. just intentionally say, hey, so-and-so, this saint, build them a spiritual library, send them books about the faith, send them books about their state in life as how the church teaches. I mean, there are so many things you could do, little pamphlets. Be a spiritual mentor. That ultimately, that's what you should do. Let them know you're here, even if you live 1,000 miles away. Be present through the phone, through text, through letters, through your prayers. And if you have no access to your godchild, that doesn't ever stop you from praying them to heaven, from having masses said. So there are things you can do no matter what. But again, I want to reiterate that you will have to answer to God for how did you godparent your godchild. You want to be able to say you were intentional. You did your best to get them to heaven. And that's all you can do. It's all of that's asked of you, but that's all you can do. I hope this helps. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. Thanks for watching this Bacon Bit. And as always, remember to live your life sunny side up.